All right, my friends, let's start. As you see, I have a very fancy new layout. That's me, buddy. Just hanging out above everybody here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now, I'd put a link to a poll that I just created, and I'll describe it a little bit. Kyle Boone's no longer on Twitter, so I have to describe it. So, very simple. Let me just say, one of the things about the training program that I anticipated, and I think anyway, let me just describe it. That we're able, really, through statistics, to gather information on chess training that nobody had access to before. So in this case, we've got a bunch of things we ask people to do, and then through stats, we can figure out, well, which box returns the most ELO on average. Now, of course, I have my own pedagogical prejudices for what returns the most ELO, right? I assume everyone does. But the beautiful thing about stats are, hey, boss, hey, boss, maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're close, but maybe you're wrong, right? So I'm going to let that thing run for a day, and then I'll divulge the answer. Again, here is the link in the chat. And basic question, I'll just put it out to you this way. Anything in the Chess Dojo trading program could be on this list. Twitter only let me do 4, but I had playing a classical game, analyzing said games, 50 Polgar mates, and the cohort endgame algorithm. So if you're in the 300 to 400 rating band, that's going to be queen and king versus king, right? Same thing for 4 to 5. Very interesting question. Which one we think will do more for your chess? Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so we have 5 beautiful graduates today. And as I always look forward to this Monday show. And the first is Justin T.E., and we're going to look first at one of their games, and then we're going to make a diagnosis based on the games of what they need, or just celebrate their achievement, and then also look at the scoreboard to see what kind of work they've been doing. I can tell you in advance that Justin has been working hard. One of the things that I've noticed about just looking at a lot of these annotations is this is great annotations, and I'm not complaining, okay? But a trend I've noticed is that the lower rated annotations don't have variations, right? So this is all very interesting that we see in the next several moves, but we're not getting variations. Now, again, I'm not complaining because this, even if it's not variations, this is still all really well thought out reasoning. Okay, fine. Knight h3. Okay, this is why, by the way, you don't want to be studying a lot of openings at a lower level, because somebody's going to play something weird like knight h3. The right move has to be either bishop b5 or knight f3, right? So Justin should put like a funky move mark next to knight h3. So something like that, right? I'm going to get rid of it here. By the way, I'm building out the cohort games. A lot of these games I will put into the cohort games. The cohort games is just going to be when we have Dojo 2.0 coming in May 1st. That's our hope, is that a new requirement will be not only to, the new requirement will be to study 5 games of your cohort, the analysis they did. Okay, so this move confused me. I saw the potential for bishop h3 to open up that file if he castles there, but wasn't interested in it. Also, my e-pawn and queen prevent that knight from moving. Well said. I don't know why it confused you. That's really a good move. You see a lot, actually, of players who are confused that pawns are people. Will take that knight, but that knight's terrible, right? And if you want to, you can take it later. Good move, bishop b5. Bishop b7, poor, because now you're hanging the e-pawn, okay? So white can now take on c6, and then take on e5. So let me say, one of the rants I give every time is that in the under 1,000 section, it is people hanging stuff. It's people hanging stuff that gets them in trouble. Okay, good. a6. Okay. My first long thing. My pawn on d5 is now hanging. I had knight f6 to defend it, d5 to attack it, but I didn't like the position after ed5, cd5, knight a4. Now that's confusing to me. So I decided to first kick the bishop. Okay. Overall, I think my position is slightly better because of the bad knight move by white. Okay, good. From a dogmatic point of view, I would much rather see knight f6 just to develop, right? Okay, they go back. Weird, weird. Let's hope they play knight f6, d4. Mistake. Now I go with my d4 plan, and if the knight goes to a4, I can attack it with b5. Okay. The problem with d4 is you're allowing this poor knight to move, in this case to knight e4. I still like your position, but there's no reason to help the knight move. Knight f6 and the white's on total lockdown. Weird, because they should play knight e4. Okay, good. Weird. Or not, that's just not weird, it's bad. This is not weird, it's bad. Boom! This was the deciding blunder of the game. My opponent spent 10 seconds on this move. Okay, really well said. One of the things that we see at this level, especially with online play, is people are moving horrendously fast. And that just goes, I think, a lot to do with the distraction of playing online. But also, at this level, it's hard to really do system 2 thinking because you're not used to it. Okay, now we just have to avoid making some blunders. Okay, now we do our first blunder, c4, giving up a clean pawn. Let's read what Justin writes. Now I just don't want to castle because it runs into mate. Good. I wasn't afraid of bishop h7 because it pins the bishop. So I played c4 thinking to attack that side. This is a bad move because I simply take my c-pawn for free with the bishop. Correct. Okay. So let's pause here for a second and just say, white isn't really threatening anything, right? And it's only if we castle that we have a problem. Now would be a good moment to take the knight on h3 because now maybe knight g5 could be annoying, right? But we definitely don't want to give away this pawn. And after bishop c4, we also say, like, this piece is dead because of this. So playing this really enables the bishop. Clear mistake, as you said, pinning the bishop. Now, maybe if you're going to castle long, this would be the moment. Another simple thing to do here would be play bishop h3. The idea there is not to say that you should have taken it before, but rather now that you're up a piece, it's easy. It's good to just clarify the situation, and that pin on h7 isn't going anywhere. Okay. Now I decided to castle. Let's read this note. To get my king to safety and to add a defender to my rook. I didn't realize that I could have kicked the queen with knight f5. Okay, well said. Thank you very much. So as we see at this level, sometimes people just hanging stuff. They're just hanging stuff in the full brutality of stuff. All right. So let's just check to make sure that black finishes. Oh, black really finished him off here. That's a good night, Lucy. Okay. So there it is. Now, Justin, I want to just show the scoreboard here for a second. By the way, I'm getting fancy with the tech. That's right, buddy. So actually, I'll just say with the tech, I am doing this Chessable course. And the Chessable minions, dude, they are just taking forever. It's just like they're in Europe. And so if you write them on the weekend, you're never going to hear back. It just moves microscopically slow. This chess-based thing has been going on for months. People in Europe basically don't work, dude. That's maybe my takeaway from this. I don't know. That might be my takeaway. They're just like, I'm on vacation, boss. Don't bother me. And it's just like basic questions I'm trying to ask, like, can I do this? Can I start recording, please? And they're like, maybe we'll get back to you on Monday morning. But Monday I got other things, boss. I got other things. I take my dog for a walk. I'll get back to you maybe tomorrow, man. Anyway, so I've been going forever, but I did get this green screen thing. And so this little transparent business we got going on has been something I want to do for a while. Hopefully, Braden, our tech guy, our vid tech guy, will appreciate all my hard work here. So next things, though, let's go look at the scoreboard, because if I remember correctly, Justin is doing some really strong work. So pop. We're going to do Crazy Tom later. Justin. Let's search for Justin. So one of the things, that's 4 to 600, correct. And you can see that Justin went up just a little bit, but all that Justin needs is 850, over 850. So he got 855. And so I think, one of the things I want you to see is dude is cranking on the work. 12 games annotated and played. Some postmortems. It's all the maiden ones, right? First chess workbook, done, right? PR cohort benchmarks, done. Puzzle Storm, done. Endgame sparring, done. Classic games, done, okay? So this dude's doing it, all right? So it would not surprise me if Justin, quickly goes beyond the 600 to 700 group, okay? That's just my gut, and I admire the work. I admire the work a lot. Okay, now, again, I want to stress something. If you write something in chat and I don't immediately get back to you, it's because I got all these windows open, okay? I'm running back and forth. I'm doing stuff. I'm working on it. I do have 2 screens, so I'm very fancy like that. Let me just quickly put up my little Twitter status in there. Bam! Go do that poll. Very interesting question. And one that, just illuminate the vast possibilities we have. We will decide, or we will contribute at least greatly to the question, what gets chess improvement done? I have my own pedagogical prejudices, but the stats are more interesting than my own prejudices, at least to me, because then I can reflect on why I was wrong or at least slightly misguided. So there it is. Which kind of box right here that you see in front of you? Let's actually show the box for a second, the different boxes. So this is the 400, 600 group. Go away, miss this one. I want that one to go away. Gosh, this one isn't going away. Oh, gosh. There it goes away finally. Okay, so I just want to show, for example, there's classic games, postmortems, tactics, the book, the puzzle rush, the end games, the classic games, game to memorize, principles video. Now, every cohort will be different. Every cohort will have different requirements, but you can see what I mean. There are some boxes that go across the different cohorts, and then that's the interesting question. Which box is it that gets you the most gain? I have that poll up. I'll tell the answer tomorrow when the poll is done. I'm not sure. Well, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll put it that way. Okay, my friends, let's go back. Dojo Game Review. Now we're going to look at Now Z Gaming. This is Now Z Gaming's 3rd graduation, if I have that right. I believe he started in 800. So 8 to 9, 9 to 10. It's just like, dude, you're crushing it. You're crushing it. So here we go. Bang. Okay. PMs. This must be a shorthand for Bulgar mates. Okay, so let's get into it and check out this game. This is pretty extensively annotated. So let's check it out here. And we're going to flip the board so we can see it from Now Z's perspective. Okay. In the Chessable course I'm preparing now, I actually like the move order knight c3 instead of d3 for white. That wasn't, I did not have, I had d3 in the original file. And part of that is to get out of this c6 business. Okay, but this is all fine for white. Knight f3, d5. Okay, and now we get ed5, mistake. Now, a common mistake at this level I've noticed is that people give up their center pawn. And, for example, let's say the pawn were on e6, in that which case would be freeing the bishop. But now in this case, we're freeing the knight. This, once we play c6, the knight is poor, right? So we are freeing that piece. But now Z correctly says that knight c6 is a question mark because it loses a pawn, and that bishop d7 would have been much better. Correct. Okay. White now misses it. But even though they missed it, it's still not easy for black to defend the e5 pawn. So, for example, in this position, it does look like we have a difficult life here, okay, for black. And of course, if we could just somehow hold on to that pawn, we would be fine, but it's not so easy. Queen c7, white can think about bishop f4, for example, or bishop c6 and then bishop f4. Okay, so one thing I want to say now, Z, is you criticize bishop g4, but what did you, I always encourage people, like when you put a question mark, to say what you think you should have done, right? Because I think there's already a little bit of grief here. And yeah. Now, first of all, I want to commend you, especially if you found the following trick without the computer. This is a great trick that now Z discovered with knight e5, bishop d1, knight c6. Beautiful, winning the pawn back, right? Beautiful variation. And the reason you could find it with the computer after you did your analysis, but I'm just saying, like, finding that kind of tactic with your own eyes, that's good work, you know? That's really good work. So one thing I don't know, maybe this happened just because I imported it from Nowzi's file, is there's this little check box thing. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's meant to be a mistake. In any case. Okay, good. Now I want to say, Nowzi, you should say it in your notes. You should say maybe even leave the question mark off and say the computer found such and such, right? Yeah. Okay, so h3. Let's look. So bishop h5, and now pop. Okay. So knight g4 is a very interesting move, and let's say a couple things. You should put in the variation for bishop f3 and try to evaluate it, right? Because that's the correct move. And then here with knight takes g4, what's interesting is it's only really going to work it's only really going to get punished if your opponent finds the knight e5 trick, right? So that's also one where it'd be more interesting and honest to do it without the computer, because if white doesn't find knight e5, then you at least have very interesting compensation, at least. And if you don't play knight to e5 and you play bishop g6, I assume one of the reasons you took on g4 was that you saw that you're going to lose a pawn on e5. Okay. Knight e5, discovered check, still works correct. Okay, let's just show everybody that. And One of the great things to see about both playing a game like this and the analysis is that is an idea that will come up again and again, and then by doing the analysis, you are just going to be far more in tune with it. Okay, so bishop g5, incorrect. Bishop f3, very good. Pop, 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 pop. Okay. So let's read. I took with the king to get out of the pin and move my king into the middle since we are approaching an endgame quickly. Okay. Your king's already in the middle, but this should be fine. Good move. And then b5 is definitely a mistake. Because, right, you are helping the bishop. Now, a little highfalutin action for us here. You should be sensitive to the fact that this is an opposite color bishop situation. And the reason, the thing to know about opposite color bishops' positions is that if white gets an initiative on the light squares, they're up a piece on those light squares, right? So what you do is you encourage precisely that. So now dude has full light square control. I assume you played d4, right? And now look at those light squares. He's just totally lit up. Totally lit up, right? So let's say a couple things. If you had taken with the rook, then you can move your bishop and protect the d pawn. And then in this position, probably you needed to do something like knight e7 and just hold your center together. And I'm just going to assume you're winning because you're up 1,000 pounds. 1,000 pounds, bows. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Pop, 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 pop. And this, I think, will be an interesting position to think about the extent to which white has counterplay because of the light squares. Good move. King e7. And now I like bishop f7 a lot. Let's see if dude found it. Boom. I don't like it. I thought this was a little passive and it let me solidify my position. Good. That's right. So bishop f7 for sure. Now, let me just express the reason we don't want to play knight d6 first is that is a beautiful knight. And the further effect of bishop f7 is not simply that I'm winning a pawn, but now it means that my knight can never get kicked from that beautiful blockade position. And notice this bishop, I don't want to take it unless I really get something for it because it's a slimy piece. That piece is blocked by its own pounds, bows. All right, so bishop d5 has to be good. A3, losing loads of time. Bam! Give me that square. He's not doing anything over there, bows. All right, we do need a good move here. Let's see what you did. Pop. Okay, it can't be bad, really. He's going in, but it's the path to nowhere. Good move. He's getting frisky. Pop, pop. Now, that looks fine. Knight e7 also looked good. That looked fine. That ain't it, bows. That's a tricky move. We'll give him props for that. It's a tricky move. Uh-oh. Here I didn't see the pawn fork at the end of the line. Okay. So we're going to congratulate white for finding a nice trick with this d4 move. The easy way to play the position, and we could have done this last as well, is just to play knight e7 and then take this pawn, right? Okay, so this is a tactic that we're missing. And now this is going to go down. And now we have ourselves an interesting position. Let's this would be a good position to kind of reflect on and ask, like, well what's going on, right? I'll stress that it's not super simple for me to say what is happening here. I would definitely want to believe that black is at least significantly better, conceivably winning. Right? If white is going to get counterplay, it has to be or if white wants to dream about saving this thing, he's going to need some counterplay. Maybe a move like a4 now to try to get the rooks active. Again, if you want to say this is incorrect, I agree with you. It's incorrect. We should say something about it, right? Like, or what was better. All right, g5. Now, g5, I want to say makes me a little nervous because you have to then deal with h6, and it's abstract, whereas a move like king e6 is not abstract. Also, e4, intending bishop e5, also not abstract. King e6, we're just threatening the pawn on c3, right? Okay, so g5. In general, by the way, we want to put the pawns on light squares because we want the pawns to control light squares or the bishop to control the dark squares. Okay. a4. Super weird. They didn't do it before because, hey, bows, now we can take it and play a3. Hey, thank you very much. The dude's lost his soul here. No one knows. Let's play probably e4. Okay. Now, in general, we don't want to trade rooks in this position because the rooks are doing different things, and our bishop and rook are doing different things. His rooks are doing the same thing. So in general, we want to avoid this exchange. However, that pawn on a3 is so strong, I don't know. It's probably going to win anyway. That's not going to do it. All right, let's play e4. Nope. Let's play e4. No, not yet. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, now it got spicy. Now it got spicy. Okay, now here's the interesting thing. Black is probably still winning. He's probably still winning. All right, so let's look. Poop, poop, poop. Now, again, if you don't like the move, you got to say what you want him to do. I think it's a hard life here, actually, for white, because you're going to go put your king on b2, and white is going to have to start checking you on d2 when that goes down. Okay, nice and calm. My idea was to protect my king from checks when I moved to b3 with the king. Final check to my miserable king. I don't know why it's really a mistake to play e4. Maybe you want to play h4 instead. But I think e4 is fine. It's got to be okay. Check to the miserable king. Boop. Now you got to go back, son. h4. Why is it a question mark, though? That seems very logical. No one knows. Pop! Thank you very much. Game over. Okay. It's a hard life for the guy. I don't see any way for white to survive here. The rook has to... no, I don't see it. I don't see how he saves the situation. So that was a good game, man, even though we had some clear mistakes. So let's go look at the scoreboard here for a second and check it out. Uh-oh. Those question marks are from the engine, is what David is saying. Now Z Gaming, don't do it, Bows. Don't do it. Don't do the engine. Don't do the engine. You can turn it off. All right, now Z, listen. Let me give you a stern talking to. It's okay to turn on the engine after, but you're not being able to understand with your own eyes what's going on in the game. So, for example, from my mind, that's fine. You're winning. The engine, maybe it says that there's an easier way or something. I don't care. I don't care if there's an easier way. You're doing fine here. Push the pawn. He's done for. He's done. Okay. So, Rook Handler, no, it's not a new camera. It is a green screen that I'm doing for the Chessable course that hopefully I'm going to start someday. And also, I got some lighting and stuff. So there it is. By the way, here's a new tweet. Bang! Go take a guess at what dojo box will get you the most elo. Is it playing a game? Is it going over a game? Is it mate in twos? Is it the cohort endgame algorithm? Interesting question. Stats, however, tell us the answer. Your prejudices mean nothing in the light of stats. They mean nothing. Okay, so let's go look at Now Z in the training scoreboard. Pop. All right, here we go. Now, I just want to say Now Z has graduated multiple times. Actually, let's just go through Now Z's epic run here. We'll start at the beginning. I think, is that the beginning? So 800 to 900. I think that's the beginning. And I just want to share something. Gonna make sure you can see this at the bottom there. So start at 1115. Okay. 1353, 238 points, 17 points per box. Now, it might change as we go out the scoreboard. I'm just going to just share this. So we got some games and all the mate and ones, and then all the puzzle rush stuff. Now, let's go to the next one and see what it's like. All right. Now we're going to the 900, and Now Z Gaming has now done some mate in twos for that jump, right? And done a lot of the other standard stuff, right? Okay, good. Let's go again. So this is then going to be 1,000. God, Now Z is like crushing it, dude. So in the 1,000, which he just graduated from, we're getting 1250 to 1353, 103 and 5 points per box. Fantastic, dude. Fantastic. So let's just take a look. It is a lot of work that is being done here. 11 games played, 4 games analyzed, post-mortems, mate in ones and mate in twos. Fantastic. I love that Now Z finished the mate in twos for the cohort. He'll get some more in the next one, but this is the work that needs to be done. Fantastic. So there are a couple people in the dojo who have graduated multiple times, and these people are doing the work. It's not like that. I have yet to see somebody graduating a bunch who just magically goes up. No, it's the people who are putting in a lot of work. Now, some people are, say, doing more of more playing, more analyzing, more tactics, right? We see certain prejudices in the people's approach. But if you look at what Now Z did here, that was a lot of work. That was like almost all of it, right? Almost all of it. And you look at 5 points per box over here, right? That's the sign of somebody working really hard. And also the sign that when, for the next cohort, it'll probably be more like 3 or 4 points per box, right? So we'll slowly slide into some kind of plateau. It might not be in the next cohort or the one after, but at some point, right, we're going to get to like 1 point per box, and it's going to be like, really brutal work. Okay, my friends, let's go look at the next one. And then we got Babak up. I think I spelled Babak wrong here. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's Babak. Let me change that. Babak. Okay. Pop. All right, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. So, what we see a lot, actually, is this newfangled Yobava London. And it's controversial for 2 reasons. One, at this level, people shouldn't be playing something that they learned, right? It should be by principles. And second, because it's kind of weird, it's hard for people to learn, and they end up doing weird things that are not principled. Okay? In particular here, what's going to be confusing and hard to play is, we've seen this in a number of dojo games, is how do we get the C pawn to be active in the game? Okay, so here we go. A6. And obviously, I would yell at the dude in the sense that it'd be like, boss, you just lost the tempo. The A6 move, though, might prove useful. And one of the things that white needs to now be super aware of is now the knight doesn't have much of a future, and this pawn doesn't have any room, and therefore it might be a little hard to know where to put this queen. So, for example, now Babak gets a little frisky with f3, and you see this friskiness often in the Yobaba London stuff. However, it is not a principled move, and we're now playing highfalutin chess. So this is like clear examples to me of like Babak would be better served both for immediate rating gain and for long-term progress if Babak would just play principled chess, right? So f3, making the king more drafty, denying a space to the knight on g1, losing a tempo for our development, right? That doesn't mean it's a bad move, okay? We're obviously intending this very frisky e4 move, but the reason I think it'll prove to be hard to play this position, and second, for anybody's long-term progress, it's really good to have a stage in your chess development where you're just playing principled moves. Okay, knight c6, not the greatest, because it's in the way of the c pawn. And now we get e3, which is of course weird, but Babak says he meant to play e4. The problem with e4, though, is then we have to contend with this pawn hanging. So that was the one benefit of knight c6. So I'm not even sure about this. So imagine pop, pop. I think Babak is missing that the d4 pawn is hanging. Okay. So e3 might have actually been a reasonable move. e6, now notice the bishop on c8 now isn't doing great, but one benefit of f3 is that if black does play bishop f5, they have to worry about this kind of fancy stuff. Okay, fine. Queen h4 check, probably a good move. Want to stress, when you play f3, this is the weird stuff that's going to happen to you. Okay. Now black blows the tempo with queen e7. Definitely, they should take on f4 and then develop their bishop on f8, right? So loss of tempo. Knight a4. Let's look at this. Looking to the outpost on c5, my thinking was if b6, then knight b3. And then eventually with option for knight d2 or protecting d4. I think he means that knight a4. By the way, I'm heing the person. I should say that. I don't know. In any case, I think after b6, they're saying knight c3, come back. b6 is, of course, a mildly good move for black because we want to maybe give a square for our bishop on c8. Let's also take a moment and say that this move, a little funky because we are removing the ability or denying the ability of this bishop to move out. And in this position, what white really, really needs to focus on is development. And notice, I said this at the beginning, in this Yobava London stuff, it's often hard to know what to do, right? Pieces are all a mess, the king's a mess. So one thing, first of all, we should recognize we don't want that to happen. And in fact, what knight a4 does is it really enables this e5 move. So let me give you an example of highfalutin chess in action, if you will. This is a highfalutin position. This knight is only developed. This is what I mean by highfalutin position. We're going to get deep here. Bear with me. This knight is only developed because it has an attack on the bishop. Otherwise, it's just a terrible knight on the side of the board. So an interesting move for white would be bishop g5. And the intention is very clear, is not so much to say, I'm terrified of you taking my bishop, it's that I want to say your knight is poor on h5. And then black could do a variety of things and the game goes on. I try to improve my pieces after this, right? Okay, so knight a4, not a developing move. Okay, this is what I'm saying, opening principles. Now e5 from black would be a good move. Why? Because we want to control the center, but more importantly, bring out our dog. And this e5 move was more difficult on the previous move because there was tension on the d5 square. Okay, g6, poor move. c3, bishop g7. Good move, bishop g5. Again, this is a good move because the knight on h5 is poor. And here you have knight c5 with tempo, Baus. You got knight c5. You told me you were bringing it in. Now bring it in, Baus. Bring that doggy home. Okay. Let's read what you say after g4. This, I believe, was a mistake. I merely pushed the knight into more central square and created a block for my bishop. Okay. I think that's very well said. The knight on h5 is poor, and g4 improves him. Good. Okay. Now, this is all well-intentioned, but black now has e5. Right? And does black want to play e5? Yes. And remember, the fact that that move is fighting for the center is secondary to the more interesting fact that you're fixing your bishop. e5 again. No. Black is also suffering from the non-development disease. Queen g3, interesting. Do we snip? Yes, we snip. b6, well, that's terrible. I can take on b6 or bishop d6. Which one do you choose, Baus? Okay. Okay. All right, so now we're going to check the technique. All right. Queen e8 doesn't make any sense to me. Check to the miserable king. That makes sense to me. That doesn't make sense. Baus, let's think about it. You got two bad knights. They got to get fixed. Your king needs to move to connect the rooks. So whatever you do has to address those fundamental problems. King g2, knight f4, knight d2, something. Right? But we're not going to do this. No, no, no. We're not going to go back and forth, Baus. e5, he finally does it. Rook e1, knight d7. Doesn't make any sense to me. Now, black, of course, is down some material and needs to find a creative way to get his pieces into the game. One creative thing for black could, for example, be rook a7, rook e7. All right. They still have good practical chances because your pieces aren't coordinated yet. Good move. King g2. Thank you. Okay. Notice with this a5 thing, your knight's not happy on b3. So in a lot of ways, this a4 thing that they're intending is similar to you playing g4 earlier. All right, let's read about g5. As many squares around my queen are controlled by my opponent's pawns, I thought to try to close the position so I could concentrate my attack in the center. What do I want you to do, Baus? I want you to fix your dogs. Okay, so knight f2 is the first move to come to mind. Okay, now did they have to do that? No. a4. You didn't have to do that either. Remember, we're not afraid of a4 because we don't mind moving our knight. Our knight on b3 is terrible. Okay, this kind of helps you because, first of all, this bishop, well, it's not kind of. It definitely helps you. That bishop was a good attacking piece. And now either that or just taking on a6 and the rook is misplaced on a6. This doesn't seem right because now your knights both get squares. In particular, the knight on h3 gets the f4 square. Good move. I like knight f2 a lot. You write, in hindsight, I think I should have traded pawns as this would have freed up the d pawn and a push for the c pawn. I'm sure your position is nice. No. First of all, you no possible take, because that's a fork. So you did fine here, and your knights, look at them, they're coming to life. That can't be good. I saw a meme recently. The guy was talking about en passant crushing you. People not knowing about en passant? No, honestly, you don't have to do en passant. Knight f4 is also really good. Let me stress, you should feel the urgency that this guy, just imagine it. Imagine, he's been talking to you all game, Baus. He's been saying, hey, Baus, can I play too? When do I get to play Baus? You know? He wants to play. And look, instantly he goes from 0 to hero. Tapping this, tapping that. Very active piece all of a sudden. You could also take first on f6. That would be my first intuition. Now that's a fancy move. I don't get it. You don't get it either. That's okay. Knight d1. Oh, whoa. Why? Good move. All right. Passive. So you're terrified of the knight landing on d3. I understand. But this knight needs to do its own drama. No entiendo. No one knows what they're doing. Yep, looks like a blunder. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Fancy. Thank you. No. Okay. There was more than one move there, but that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So we are missing some stuff here. And as you write, queen e5 would have been better. This allows us to consolidate. Didn't see knight a2. Let me stress the other thing I want you to see besides knight a2 is, Baus, you need to fight for the d file. Pronto. Let's go to the d file. Knight a2 missed. Okay. Okay, I like that. I love that. Check to the miserable king. There it is, Baus. There it is. There it is. Okay. So, good game. Let's flow through the rest. Flow's a pretty fancy word, Kraai. Did we need to do that? Well, I should definitely play king g8. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Good. Thank you for reading my annotation of this game. Any thoughts are appreciated. Okay. Cool. So there it is. Babak started at 800 to 900 and is now 1100 to 1200. And let's go take a look at the scoreboard. So we'll go scoreboard and over here. And now we'll go Babak. Babak. Spell it right. So there's the 1100, 1200. And we're going to go and look at the beginning first. So you can see there's nothing happening there yet. So as you see, Babak started at 800 to 900. And there's nothing was recorded in this first row, presumably because they graduated kind of quickly. So let's go on to the next one. And here, 65 rating points, 13 per box, basically crushing it, right? So Babak was moving so fast that didn't need to work yet, right? Okay, now let's go to the next one. Oh, and then they jumped all the way. All the way. Hold on. There's Babak, and they jumped to 1100 Chesscom. Now, this is a little bit things I don't understand, actually. I'm not sure Babak is in the correctamundo spot here at 1100, 1200. So there's a little confusion there for me, right? It looks like this one, 900 to 1,000, is their proper cohort. So let me just make a little note. Sometimes people, I don't know, sometimes DM Hokey blows it, dude. he sometimes gets it wrong, man. He's the one who sends me like every Monday. I'm like, hey, rise and shine, Hokey. Send me the graduates, buddy. Anyways, last week there was a time when he got somebody's cohort wrong. In any case. All right. So let's go back to the review. And somebody's writing me in Discord. No, that's fine. Okay. So, buddy, we have one more game because our fifth person, Crazy Tom, doesn't have a game yet for us. So this is going to be Orca Gigi. We're going to flip the board. And here we go. Pop, 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 pop. And then we'll reflect on this move for a second. Okay. So, I have a request to go back to the position after E3. Okay, we can. We'll go back to the position after E3. So I'm assuming we're talking about this position. Yeah. So Big Z, do you have a question about this position? After E4, isn't there DE4 and E5? Okay, actually, I'm glad you addressed it. I want to say it did cross through my mind, but the reason I didn't address it is I didn't want to make things too complicated. But what flashed through my mind there was DE, D5, and then a standard exclam move here, I think, is E5. And the main point of this move is just that Black is developing all of their stuff really quickly. And the game is going to go on. It's still complicated. But I think Black is doing, it's at least an interesting game. Black's got their stuff out. Maybe Bishop G5 is next and the game goes on, right? So this is very hard for me to evaluate after E5. So if like, maybe there's some computer course out there on the Yobava London, they want you to do this fancy stuff. If nothing else, it's further proof that these opening systems at this level are not helpful. Again, one of the cool things about the Dojo training program is we really, I think, have nailed it down pretty well of like when you should be studying openings. And we say at 12 to 1300 is the first time you should really be studying openings, and then in that spot only to be doing an opening repertoire verse E4, right? Forget about the rest. Now, let me use this opportunity to tell a quick story. So there's this young woman in Baltimore who's been going for it like Queen's Gambit all the way, right? And she's on Dojo. Her name's Sam. And so I met her a couple times here in Baltimore. It was the funniest thing. I met her and I saw her playing the aggressive repertoire. It was just like, I just didn't even know who she was. I came up and there it was, the aggressive repertoire on the board. And she'd never played over the board chess or anything. In any case, I yelled at her, of course. I was like, dude, I appreciate it. I love that you're doing the aggressive repertoire. It's not time yet. In any case, she has proved me wrong to the extent that she has now advanced far enough that I can no longer yell at her anymore. And yesterday, she did really well in this rapid tournament. And I believe, she still has a partial or provisional USCF rating. I believe it's in the 1400s now. So it's just an amazing jump. She's working really hard at it. Yeah. Okay, so someone says this position is very Italian-like, and that's true. That's true. There is a lot of similarities, and what they're talking about is imagine a pawn on E4 instead of this pawn here, and the pawn being on C3. And you get like a lot of the times at night, instead of knight H5, you have knight A5, right? Instead of E4, you're having to play for D4. Okay, so let's go to the next game. This is Orco Gigi, and here we go. So, winnower and ED5, it's not a dumb move. And the intention here is to say the standard move, E5, loses a tempo, right? Gains some space, loses a tempo. So white says, well, you know what? I'll just play ED. And yes, I will be developing this bishop, but I also won't be losing any time. And I don't think bishop takes c3 is a horrendous move, but for sure ed5 first, because there's no hurry. There's no hurry to take that thing. And in particular now, we got to be worried about bishop a3 raging us here. In fact, we can say that white missed a killer opportunity after knight f6. And that is bishop a3. I'm going to go ahead and say I think black's toast. Am I 100%? I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close to saying that's toast. Because look at that baby. Ow! Yikes! I don't know what we're going to do, Bows. I do not have the answers after that, my friend. You know? I just do not have the answers after that. But white's going to play stuff like bishop d3 and Kasilovich, rook e1. It will not be pleasant for a peasant, my friend. It will simply not be pleasant for a peasant. And this is a little highfalutin, but we'll just say in this position, when you take on c3, whenever you give up bishop for the knight, just be mindful, as the millennials like to say, mindful of the fact that you are creating a situation where then the unopposed bishop, which will be this one, can own all of that color, right? If you give it the white square bishop, it could be the white squares. In this case, you're giving it the dark squares, and we see in this amazing variation, sting! Sting! Give me those dark squares, baby! Give it all to me! Sting! Okay. So, here we go. Bishop e2, passive. If we're going to move the bishop, then let's put it on d3, Bows. Come on. Okay. Let's read what you write here. Opponent signaled he wanted to castle, so I developed a knight with the idea to castle the next move after him. Okay. Now, let's be sensitive to our knight here. This knight, now obviously we're just discounting bishop a3. We're just imagining it isn't there because both players aren't seeing it. We should castle so the bishop a3 doesn't hit us, but we're just imagining that people aren't seeing that. And what we'll say about the knight here is we want to have some kind of idea about how this knight could be active. We need some kind of plan. So, for example, first of all, we should castle. But then after that, we could consider c5 and knight c6. And if we're going to play knight c6 directly, maybe with some kind of intuition of participating in the fight for that square. But it's just important to see that on knight c6 itself, it is dominated on that square. It's not going anywhere. The c3 pawn's killing it. Castle, castle, bishop b2. Now that's highfalutin. Let's read. I thought a bit when seeing this move, since I didn't understand it at first glance. The bishop is fianchettoed and it x-rays g7, h8. So a good position long term, but it's closed by 2 pawns. I then suspected he wanted to push the c3 pawn. Okay, so very highfalutin. There are some classic games of like, I think it's Botvinnik Alekhine. Some people list that as one of the top games of all time, where there's a mildly similar thing, and yes, the unopposed bishop comes to life. This is too highfalutin, though, Bows. That's too highfalutin. What are we doing? What are we doing? That bishop's our pride and joy, and it's going to take forever to get c4 moving. If you want to play bishop b2, then play c4 now, right? The other obvious thing that we got to say is this pin, that might be really painful. Earlier, we had a g5 sacrifice, and I don't know if this works, but something like that is something to consider because it's a pin of doom. Probably doesn't work right away. In any case, it has would have had a better chance of working if the bishop were on d3, where it should be. Okay, so bishop b2, very highfalutin. And if we wanted to just shut it down, knight a5 really speaks to just saying no bows. You know puedo c4 play, but rook e8's fine. Okay, consistent. I thought about fianchetto my bishop, however, this was clearly a mistake. Okay, so my dogmas are really good, first of all. I have great dogma. You know, nobody has dogma like I do. And the thing to say about b6 is bows. That's not a developing move, right? That is not a developing move. So you have a variety of things that you could do here, all of which fight for the center. So, for example, white wants to do something like that, and maybe c4 after. It's very slow. It's pawn moves. It's not piece moves. And look, and just imagine that knight. Bang! I'm coming in, bows. I'm coming in. Are you sure you want to invite all my pieces to this party? So, good default moves here for black should be bishop f5 or bishop g4. One of those moves. They both look good to me. I like bishop g4 best. You know, you're winning the development game. All right, so b6, pop, pop. Now I'm going to guess that Orko is a Spanish speaker because in the Spanish they like to talk about comering the pawns. They like to comer the pawns, buddy. That's the way they talk about trades. They say eaten. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say Orko's. We'll check actually in the scoreboard if he has a different what kind of rating thing he's on. All right, so here we go. c4, reasonable. Now the bishop might eventually get out, right? Queen d8, d5. Now let's just say that even though I yelled at white for doing the bishop b2, he or she has at least carried this through pretty great, right? Jake is crushing it with this d5 thing. Look at that unopposed bishop. Truly a beast. So again, even if I didn't like the way it was done, the intention was beautiful, and the intention is now black has allowed it to come to fruition. Knight b8. Weird. Well, let's go to a5, bows. Go to a5. If you want to go like d7, you can scurry around to that if you need to. Going back all the time, bows. b3, okay. Ooh. To pin the pawn. Now, I want to say my guess when you played b6 earlier was that you were committed to doing something like this. But it's dead. It's dead over there, right? So you need to play either bishop g4 or knight d7 or knight a6. Put that knight there first, and then see what white does. And bishop's toast. Queen a4 would have been annoying too. Okay, so all right, we get it, bows. We know what you want. Okay, good. Okay. Now, do I understand that? He wants to play bishop h7. Very, very tricky. Very tricky. Whoa. Wow. Now, white went, actually, we got to say it, white went from playing kind of chump chess to this like genius chess. That's really strong. So let's go back a second and think about this position. Personally, I think we should be able to hold here, even though our bishop on a6 is misplaced. So the first question would be knight a4. Yeah, knight a4 is an interesting question. I'm not sure about the eval there. It's going to get a little messy. But if they take on a4, we're not going to die immediately. Yeah. Okay, so h6, knight h7, exclam. Exclam, very nice move. Now, rook f1, super fancy, dude. Super fancy. Most chumps, including myself, would be like, well, it's time to cash in with knight f6. This dude's like, no, I just hang out. And it looks like they should have cashed in, bows. Because now your knight comes back. So what we got to say, okay, is that maybe what's interesting is even though knight h7 looked so strong, the fact that we have the jump in development means that maybe we're going to survive this. So, for example, queen d6, pop. I think we play here. Pop, pop. Now, I really intuitively like the white position very much. However, in this position, we are getting the juice on c4, right? Okay, so let's look at what happened here. Pop, pop, pop. Now I feel like black isn't going to lose, at least not immediately. Rook e3. Here I wasn't sure about taking with the rook, since I thought if he would have eaten with the f-pawn, he would have gained a super strong center with 3 advanced pawns. Also, I calculated he had no checkmate after doubling the rooks. You know, chess in other languages and translate is just amazing. They want me, Chessable wants me to do a German version of the ChessDojo aggressive repertoire. Now, I lived in Germany for 5 years, and I haven't been there for 23 years, my friends. Okay? I've been there for 23 years, and they want me to do some German course. It's going to be abysmal. I'm going to be, this thing about eating pawns, I'm going to say weirder things. Like, oh, it's going to sound really terrible. And Orko Gigi probably gets to talk to English all the time. I don't get to talk German at all. So it's going to be a real experience. Now, let's just say this. We should say, if we don't like rook e3, what we think white should do. And the interesting thing is, despite the fact that white's played all this beautiful chess, it's not easy to know what white should do here. There's no immediate crack that we can deliver. Maybe it might be clever to play bishop f5, threatening bishop takes d7. Or, oh no, I was about to say bishop a4, but that's a true chump move because he can just take your knight, bows. Okay, so that doesn't look right. Now let's see what you do. c6. Now both players are just like, dude, I can do anything. Rook e3 is very fancy. I gotta say, something that just strikes me. The opening play was like at a level, usually what we see is opening play at this level, like maybe somebody has some opening knowledge and then the play drops off. But here we're seeing very creative play after some kind of dubious opening play. Like rook e3, we can say whatever we want, maybe it's a mistake, but it does have an interesting idea, right? Which is if I take, then fe, and then I believe rook f1 is the intention, to put more pressure on this knight. So, very interesting moves here. Now, c6 I have a hard time believing in. Because even if we just, like white just gives away the pawn on d5, they've got some juice going on here, right? They got some juice. All right, let's see how it goes. Pop, good move, c5. This is fancy. This is really fancy, bows. Now we gotta say, you didn't want to play c5, I guess. You gotta talk about this in your analysis, Orko. I mean, we either take on e3 or we take on d5. But c5, what are we doing? Why'd you play c6, bows? What's going on? Okay, so clearly you're just like, I don't care. I don't care about anything. I think, well, I'm worried. So in the game, we get this, and maybe you're going to win because the knight is stuck on h7. So the key question is, could he have gotten you in some way? Let's look. By the way, while I'm looking at this, I'll just say, I'm going to flip the board for myself, that it is not easy for me to simply say if there's a tactic here. It just smells like a tactic. And I want to stress that going over our games is the spot to really learn tactics, right? Now, I definitely believe in White's position because the unopposed bishop, because this guy's just hanging out doing not much. And so even if we don't find a crushing body blow, we gotta be believing in White here. So, such as like a move like bishop f5, threatening bishop d7. Okay, so let's look for a second. So knight f6, queen f6, gf is forced, rook takes, king here, or rook takes and king up, and it doesn't seem like there's some simple way to break through. Okay, so that's one interesting variation. One bummer about the move g4, intending some kind of h4, g5, is dude can play queen f4. And then I don't know how to make it work. Let's try to be simple about it. Let's say knight f6, and let's play queen d3. The threat is pretty basic, bishop f6. If dude plays g6, we go back and tap to the dark squares. So is there any way for black to survive this madness? I'm going to guess no. So imagine pop, 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 check, and then I'm going to mate him. All right. So that looks forcing. Funny that White was determined. White was determined never to take that thing. It looks pretty basic, huh? I don't see any way out of this. Yeah, it looks over. And it makes sense because the bishop on a6, it makes sense that you're toast, or excuse me, black's toast, because, no, that's you, buddy. That's you. That makes sense that black is toast because bishop a6 isn't playing. In fact, while I was thinking about queen d3, Zonderbuck was way ahead of me. Now, I'm guessing Zonderbuck, I think we had this discussion before, is the Dutch word for Zundbock, which is this old biblical thing, dude, where you gotta, it's twisted, dude. It's twisted. When you sacrifice a goat, and what do we call it in English? The Zundbock, we call it the scapegoat. You let a goat escape, it's just, forget about it. Let me just say, if you Google scapegoat, you're gonna get some interesting answers. All right, so in the game, this happened. We're gonna flip back. And now the knight on h7 is toast. So unless black has, he needs some magic here. Now, interesting, queen b8, double question mark. Here I thought the only move for me was queen b8, but opponent told me about knight f6. He told me he thought knight f6 would have been a great move. I completely didn't see it. Okay. Now, maybe this queen e3. Now, I just want to talk about my prejudices. I didn't believe in this for White, but arguably, because our bishop on a6 is so terrible, even this might work. I didn't believe in it because I was like, well, boss, why did we do all this and leave the knight hanging? Why didn't we keep the rooks on? But I think dude actually has a pretty interesting idea. So let's check if this would work. At the very least, it's going to be a good position for White. Now, first of all, it's not much better for Black. Definitely not much better for black. It's better than the game. We'll put it that way. Now, I would have been wanting to play, I want to stress, I would have wanted to play queen b8 too, because I don't want the knight to get out. No. No, 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 no. But maybe there's nothing else for us really to do here. In which case, queen e3 becomes kind of stellar. Right. And then some bishop f5 is going to hurt us. Yep. Darn. Check to the miserable king. Ooh, nasty. Well, I want to say Jake played a couple very deep moves in that game. And I'm going to just check if Jake is part of the dojo here. Because, dude, for an 1100, like, Jake played some good moves for an 1100 bows. He played some really strong moves for an 1100. That was some real stuff. All right, let's go look at the scoreboard. Okay, so pop, pop. First, let's look up Jake to see if Jake's in this thing. So Jake F. Jake Faro. Jake is here. Let's go look at Jake. So Jake has increased 96 points. Per box ticked 4. Let's check what they've done. Pop, pop, pop. So Jake has not submitted games in a database. At least that's what it doesn't look like. And has done this kind of thing. By the way, the question of the day is, which box gets you the most gain? I'll link to my Twitter here. There's a poll I put up in the Twitter. Which box? Stats figured it out. I didn't figure it out. Stats figured it out. Our stats guy Jack Stingline figured this thing out. Which box that you click will get you the most gain? Dojo 2.0 is coming, my friends. It's coming. We're learning statistical, beautiful things. I will give you the answer too, by the way, not the answer, the preliminary results. So far, people are saying one analysis of a game, that's 44% of people saying that is correct. I will reveal the truth tomorrow. Okay. So next, we're going to look for Orko and see how Orko has progressed. I want to just say this. Orko started at look at this, 800, okay? 400, look at this, guys. Hold on, check this out. Boss, move this find and replace thing. Look at this. Orko started at 803 Chesscom Rapid, okay? 1370 Lead Chess, 403 rating increase. But here, that's not the most stunning detail. The most stunning detail is 1 point per box click. Now, I kind of suspect something's wrong with the scoreboard here because there's just not that many. There's just not that many. Well, we'll go through. We'll go through. In any case, we're seeing loads are being done here. Loads. Everything, basically, is being checked off by Orko Gigi. Okay? And then let's go continue this here. And we'll go Orko Gigs. Oh, we also want to see, it doesn't say actually where Orko's from. I'm assuming some Spanish-speaking country. And then they jump immediately to 1200, 1300. So there's things about that I don't entirely understand. But so let's go back here. In any case, beautiful progress with Orko here. Fantastic, dude. 403. 403 bows. Yeah, that's the real deal. I'm going to go ahead and say Nando. That sounds like maybe Fernando. Fernando Mariconi from somewhere where they eat pieces. Okay, my friends, the next one we got Crazy Tom, and Crazy Tom did not submit a game, but I'm going to show you Crazy Tom here. I have a feeling Crazy Tom is fairly new to the dojo. And right, here's where they started. Let's scroll down a second. Pop. And how do I know Crazy Tom's new to the dojo? Because he's number 100. Basically, the lower the number, the earlier you were in the dojo progress, right? So Crazy Tom has not been here very long, USCF. And maybe Crazy Tom was just like, Baus, I deserve to be higher. Because they started at 1454, which is 4 points beyond this 1450 barrier. And Crazy Tom just said, Baus, that's 4 points. I should have been 1400 to begin with. So now, boom, Crazy Tom's in there. Bang, 1400 Baus. I'm in here. Look at all these people. Crazy Tom right there. So that wasn't an official graduation, let's say, right? Let's say that wasn't an official graduation. So officially 4 today. We'll call it officially 4. Now, I want to say this. We got, I think David Pruess wants to come on and talk some stuff. So let me just say, ready, question mark. And I'll say a couple banal truths. I'll say, just because everybody loves banal truths, I love banal truths. In any case, let me show you something on the scoreboard here. So if we go all the way back, one thing that I'm seeing is that the amount of graduations that we have are distinctly higher at the lower end. So, first of all, average ChessCom rating is about 775, okay? Average cohort rating is more like, 1,1200, okay? But the average graduate is definitely below 1,000. And the point is simply to say, when you look at rating increase per box clicked, that rating progress is easier at the lower end. And as you see, the higher you go, the harder it gets. Now, the very end of the curve probably needs to be statistically dismissed because we don't have enough people. That's a goal of mine, that we get enough people so it'll be statistically interesting. But basically, if you look at the rating increase from here to, let's say, 2,000, 2,100, where we do have a lot of people, you can see it gets harder and harder to gain points. And this is just some dude drove this loco, I guess, by gaining hundreds of points. But in any case, you can kind of see the line there, right? So what's the depressing point? It gets more competitive as you go up. The other people are also working. They're also working, and they also have a degree of talent. So, right, the higher you go, I shouldn't even be telling people this. It's too depressing. It'll discourage them. The higher you go up, the more competitive it gets. Yeah, got to work even harder. Whereas, if you're in one of these cohorts, we're seeing, we're getting a lot of graduates, which is great. And the other thing we're doing, too, Dojo 2.0s, we're making more cohorts in the lower end. So we're going to have 0 to 300, 3 to 4, and then also 4 to 5, because the rating span needs to be shorter, because it's hard, dude. Because it's hard. I think. All right. David Pruess is ready. I'm not going to rate anybody. Have a great afternoon with David and my friends. And go do that poll. Right now, people seem to think it's the analysis of the game that offers the best per box ratio. Well, truth tomorrow. I will reveal. All right, bye, everybody.